Hello, hello, hello. This is Tony Speaks, and I'm coming to you because I want to speak to y'all about something today that's really been on my mind heavy lately. And I think it's because of the situations I've been going through, what I've been seeing, like, from my friends and family members and stuff. And I think I need to speak on this. So, here we go. I'm going to try to make this a short story. I'm not going to be too long, so I'm going to make an extremely long story short. But let me tell you a story about this little girl. She grew up a sick little girl. She was sickly. She was always in the hospital, always getting rushed to the hospital, always not feeling well, always throwing up, always having fevers, it was always something with this little girl, all through elementary and stuff. She stayed really sick. She had other siblings. She was the youngest at the time in the home, but she was the sickest one, even though they all consumed the same foods. Everything was identical about these three little girls and how they were being raised at the time, but she was always the one who was sick. And it was never really a clear answer why. It was just always that she's sick. Okay. So, this little girl's parents split up, and the mom moves her and her siblings out of town to another city and state. The mom gets with this guy, and he basically despises this little girl. She was a daddy's girl, and I believe that he knew that. And being as though she loved her daddy so much, she hated him. She didn't understand what was going on. She was only like 7 years old. But he, instead of, trying to help and work and make things more positive for this little girl, he despised her. So being though he did that, he mistreated her in any way he could. At first it was like little digs, like he knew she was a daddy's girl and she loved her dad. So, your dad don't love you. Your dad don't give a fuck about, a disclaimer, I will be cursing. So, oh well. But, your dad don't love you. He don't give a fuck about you. Stuff like that. Like, this is what he's telling a little girl. You so ugly. I can't believe that's your mother. I can't believe a woman that fine had a child that looks like you. So that was the first time she started being ridiculed for her looks. She had never heard that before. Because when she was with her dad, she was his sunshine. And he loved her. And he spoiled her. And she was beautiful. And all that. This is the first of the beginning of the rest of her life of being called ugly. So depression set in for this little girl. I know that y'all say that specialists say that, you can't diagnose a mental illness until they're like more so in their older ages or maybe adults. I disagree, and I'm not a specialist at all, but that little girl was definitely depressed. She contemplated suicide all the time. She became an introvert, where she used to be outgoing and more sociable. She became like very inverted in herself and her own mind, and started writing more than she spoke. And she just wanted to die. She was so sad. She was so depressed. And she wanted to commit suicide. So I think in the 3rd grade, she attempted to commit suicide for the first time in her life. She took a whole bunch of pills. She didn't know what she was doing. She just took a whole bunch of pills out of the cabinet, which happened just to be aspirins and stuff. And it would happen, just so happened to be in the summertime. And this little girl was being so ignored and so mistreated and so abused at that time that it was unnoticeable what she had done to herself. She basically just slept like maybe 2-3 days in a row, and life went on as usual. She went to school. She got bullied. Fat, black, and ugly. Fat, black, and ugly. She came home. She was picked on. Her older siblings picked on her. Her stepfather definitely picked on her. Her mother basically ignored her. Now, on the weekends, her stepfather actually worked as a bus driver. He drove buses cross country or whatever. So on the weekends, her mom wanted to go, roll out with her husband. Her new man, her husband, whatever. So The only thing was, what was she going to do with this little girl? Because the two older siblings, they always had options and places to go. But the younger child still needed, somebody to watch them, a babysitter. So the mom started just letting this little girl stay the night at different people's houses, like people she didn't even know. Like it could be a sibling in school, a girl down the street, just whoever. It got to the point where it felt like whoever was willing to take this child, she was dropped off. And unfortunately, she became sexually molested and abused, where grown men were trying to attempt to stick their penis inside of this child, forcing this child to forcing fellatio on this child, this little girl, forcing oral sex on her, like giving her oral sex. It was just disgusting. And this girl was an introvert. She was quiet, she was shy, she was nervous, she was depressed, she was sad. So she never told anyone. She endured. So there goes her second attempt at suicide in the 5th grade. She attempted suicide again. Now, with this suicide, she took stronger pills that she found. Like, she was getting older, her mind was developing, she had a very high IQ, she was not stupid. So, she attempted suicide again. And what happened was her stomach could not would not allow her to hold in all those pills and all that medication that was not hers, and she wound up throwing up and throwing up and throwing up and throwing up. And then basically the mom just sent her in the room and said, "Oh, just go lay down somewhere," and that was that. Once again, it was just like went over everybody's head. So this girl was extremely traumatized, extremely sad, depressed, and she just wanted to die. And she did not understand why the Most High was keeping her in this position that she did not want to be. So, okay, let's fast forward. I'm trying to make this story faster for y'all. I'm trying to keep it interesting and factual, but I'm trying to speed it up instead of going so deep into detail, because if not, this story is going to be hours long. Okay, so then they wound up moving to another city and state, which happens to be the mom's man/husband's hometown. And they lived in extreme poverty. And when it comes to poverty, what happens when you go to school as a child? Bullying. So she was getting bullied and picked on. Like, she had holes in her shoes. She had to wear her sister's hand-me-downs. Like, the mom only shopped at the thrift store for her and one sibling, but the other sibling got to shop at the mall and all. Just, favoritism at its finest. And she was extremely depressed. She got really sick again. All her hair started falling out. It was just horrible. It was horrible. So the stepfather basically, was still being a jerk. And he told the mother one night, either your youngest and your middle child go, or I go. Because he liked the older child. He doesn't like the youngest little girl that I'm telling you about, and the middle child, her sister. So the mom put them on a Greyhound bus, and they were gone. So the mom basically chose him over them. And the middle child, I don't know how she felt or how I don't know. All I know is about the youngest daughter, how that affected her. And it was very traumatizing. It was just like, it was the lowest that a child could possibly feel. Like, why would my mother get rid of me but keep up one sibling? What made that sibling better than her? So, and it was hard for an 11-year-old to ascertain. So they went through a whole nother trial and tribulations, trying to, get in contact with their dad and find their dad so they can move with him. And lo and behold, they did. And for the youngest little girl, the girl, her life was wonderful. She was in heaven. She was with her dad. She loved her dad. He loved her. They had a special bond. They had a connection. He understood her. He learned her ways, her likes, her dislikes. He praised her. He took her to the doctor. He took her to the beautician. Took her to get some clothes. She hadn't had new clothes since him and her mother had divorced. So he got her back and, used to wearing new clothes and all, and she was very happy, and she slimmed down, lost a lot of weight, because, when you're depressed, you eat. So, she got really slim, and, she had a social life, and, she was still quiet and an introverted child, but she was in a much better place, and it showed, okay? And I believe that was, like, one of the most happiest times ever in her life at that time, living with her father. Well, things got a little rocky as they got older, and then the girl wound up having to move back with her mother. Okay, she moves back with her mom at the age of 15. And this little girl's lost. She's a little girl lost now. Now she doesn't know what to do. I mean, she's not around dad. She's back with mom. So now how is she going to get clothes? How's her hair going to get done? How is she going to be able to function and maintain? It's very different, because with her mom, you had to be 100% independent, because mom wasn't going to do nothing, or either the bare minimum. So she decided to sell drugs. She decided she wanted to sell drugs. She kept a job. She kept, retail jobs. She kept a job. She tried her hard to keep a job, but she also sold drugs on the side. And she got her own hair done. Like, imagine being 15 years old and you have to get your own hair done. You have to get buy your own clothes. You have to take yourself to the doctor. Take yourself to the dentist. You have to, you're basically an adult. And not only that, you're paying bills. You're paying bills as well. You're walking to the grocery store, pushing the cart back to the apartment that y'all live in with groceries. Like, you're doing everything that an adult would do, and you're still a minor. And it was very hard, and it was very difficult. At the age of 16, she got viciously raped by her sister's ex-boyfriend. She got viciously raped, and she didn't call the cops. She crawled under the bed in the room after he attacked her. He pounced her. Like, he jumped on this little girl. Mind you, he was an adult. He had to be like 21 at the time. She was 16. And he ripped her apart. He literally ripped her apart. And I'm not going into detail. That'll be a whole nother story another day. But once again, the suicide set in. The depression set in. She wasn't happy. She didn't feel safe in her own home. I mean, it was just horrible for this poor child. Just imagine what all the child has been going through. And she's only 16. So, fast forward. She gets into adulthood. She makes it out of teenagehood and gets into adulthood now. And she's lost. She's only worried about material things, fitting in, hanging with the cool girls, and just not being true to herself at all, because she didn't know who she was. She didn't love herself at all, and she was lost. She was lost. She skipped around a lot, moved around a bunch of cities and states, just trying to find herself. And getting in and out of different situations, selling drugs, claiming a gang, just lost. Little girl lost. And she became in her mid-20s and started developing a seizure episodes, seizure-like episodes. And then she got hospitalized. They tried to figure out what was going on. They didn't know. People all around her, instead of being sympathetic, they're talking about her. Oh, she's faking. She wants attention. Ain't nothing wrong with her. And she started getting on medication and everything. It was just horrible. She just had nobody there. Nobody understood her. Nobody who really genuinely loved her and cared for her. And once again, she was depressed. She thought about dying. She contemplated taking her life. I mean, it was just so sad and ridiculous. Just imagine this girl. Now she's having seizures and don't know why. So then she keeps moving around, state to state, city to city. And then she gets diagnosed with diabetes and all the. Then she can't work. She's so sick she can't work, and she starts to reminisce about all the people she helped, everything she did for everybody, and how nobody's there for her. How she got to so low that she couldn't even afford a $5 bottle of medication, and not one person offered to help her. So depression set in. She wanted to die. She just didn't want to be on the earth anymore. Like, she didn't know her point or her purpose. So this girl has been through a lot, from her childhood of being sick all the way into her adulthood. This girl has been through a lot. But guess what? All the suicide attempts, she still stayed on earth. She was there. She was living. She was breathing. It was a reason. Okay? So let's keep fast forwarding for this girl. Now, she's a woman. I'm not even going to call her a girl no more. She's a woman. And she's married. And her husband just suddenly dies in his sleep. Unexpectedly, 2 days before their anniversary. He just dies. I mean, she got an autopsy done, and they basically just said his heart stopped. They had no answers. A month later, she gets diagnosed with cancer. Stage 3 cancer. Mind you, when she first got diagnosed with cancer, once again, people wasn't sympathetic like that. It's like the people, when she thought people would rally around her and help her and be there for her, they weren't. It's like everybody just disregarded her, and she was really in turmoil at the time. She was grieving her husband's death, and then she was trying to wrap her mind around the fact that now she has cancer, stage 3. And she had to start fighting for her life. She made a decision to fight. Out of all those times she wanted to die, this is the one time which is ironic, when she could have just gave up and died, she decided to fight for her life. And she has so much stress around her, so much stress in her life, so much going on. People attacking her, people disregarding her, people partying. Like, imagine you have cancer and you're in chemo alone, and you're in a city and state where friends is there, family is there, and everybody in every other chemo chair, they have a circle of support rallying around them, and you're the only one alone. But you go on social media, everybody's partying, they're having a good time, they on live, they drinking, and it's like nobody gives two damns about you. How would that make you feel? So she really felt really low. She did. And after her first round of chemo, she had a massive heart attack. They had to go in. She flatlined 3 times. They had to basically revive her. They had to do major surgery on her heart, put her on a donor list for a new heart. Her heart was so damaged. And every time after she had chemo, something else occurred, where it was either a stroke or a heart attack or a seizure. It was horrible. It was horrific. Then, being as though it was advancing so fastly, they moved from stage 3 to stage 4 in her diagnosis of cancer. So it was horrible. She was losing everything. She lost her teeth, her hair, she was just dying from the inside out. She was very depressed. And she got to the point where she just didn't want to fight anymore. She moved from city and state trying to get medical. She lost her job. She lost everything. She was broke. She had nothing. She got into a deep funk, and she basically was just going to kill herself. She didn't want to fight anymore. She felt like a burden. She felt like nobody genuinely loved her but her dad. Yes, she was still a daddy's girl, but he didn't live in the same city and state as she did. And she just felt so alone. And she decided she was just going to end it all. But she didn't. She continued to fight. And guess what? She beat cancer. She went into remission. Not saying that she was absolutely well, because even after beating cancer, she still had to deal with a lot of seizures, a lot of debilitating things going on with her major organs and stuff. But she fought. So my point for this entire story is, if you didn't know, I mean, obviously you know I'm talking about myself. And that was just a little mini autobiography from me, and what I went through. And I'm still here, and I'm still standing, and I'm still willing to fight. And I survived what everybody said will break me down. I've been through so much at the age of 40 that people just don't understand what all I've been through. And I rarely tell my story in detail, in depth. I give people pieces of this and pieces of that. I don't tell it all. But guess what? I'm still here. And I just had a stroke, a mini stroke. They call it a TIA stroke or a mini stroke 2 weeks ago. Guess where I'm at? Home. 2 days later, I was home. I just went to work today for the first time. So you're talking to me, and I'm talking to you, and I'm trying to tell you to do not give up. Do not give up. Your breakthrough will be right around the corner. When you think your life is horrible and you're at the lowest and you can't get no lower, it's somebody out there that's 10 times lower, and they're still fighting. So you have to be strong. You have to pull that strength from within and know, hey, if nobody else love me, I love me. If nobody else fight for me, I'll fight for me. I will fight for me. And don't give up, because your breakthrough might be just around the corner. Just think about it. What if I had to give up? Like, what if those suicide attempts had actually worked? What if I had to just said, just stop? And now my doctors are telling me your cholesterol is great, your blood pressure is good. It's like I'm healthier than some people that's never happened to them. I mean, my point is, suicide is never the answer. Never. And when you feel like you're a burden or you're bothering people, they don't want to be bothered with you, don't give up, because it's somebody that does want to talk to you, somebody that does care. Your breakthrough can be right around the corner, just like mine was. And I'm still here after another stroke. That makes 3 heart attacks and 2 strokes for me. Stage 4 cancer. And I'm still here. Suicide is never the answer. Please don't ever give up. It is a suicide hotline that I will put into my link below. And if some of you want to tell your stories to me, you can comment, you can email me, inbox me. I just wanted to really get that off my chest. Like, do not give up. Don't. I'm sorry that it was so long. I didn't want my video to be this long. But I did want to talk to you out there, because I know my story is touching someone. It's resonating in someone. It's uplifting someone. It's stopping someone from killing themselves. I am Tony, and I've spoken. Thank you.